This screencast is for a simple course management system add-in for RStudio Server Pro. If you haven't yet installed the add-in, see the installation instructions on its GitHub site. That page also includes setup instructions for both you and your students, not shown here. This screencast assumes you've followed those instructions as well. This screencast covers just one use of the add-in, live monitoring of student work. Earlier screencasts covered the other features of the add-in. The intended use case is a classroom in which students are working, alone or in teams, on a worksheet in R Markdown format using RStudio Server. The instructor wants to know how far along students are, whether any are getting ahead or falling behind, and what kind of answers they're coming up with. The instructor can use this information to determine when to pause the class for discussion, sharing answers, correcting misunderstandings, and so on. The instructor also wants to be able to display some student work on the projector in front of class to facilitate discussion. We assume the instructor has created an in-class worksheet in R Markdown. He or she should be sure to separate the logical sections of the work with section headers as shown here. The reason for this will become clear throughout the rest of the screencast. The instructor distributes this file to students using the add-in as covered in previous screencasts. The instructor then launches the add-in and chooses the third tab, Monitoring. He or she then enters the full path to the HTML file for the original worksheet, so that the add-in knows what an unedited version looks like. When the file name has been entered, several things change about the interface all at once. As we go through them, keep in mind that this page is meant to be displayed by the instructor on the projector during class. First, the section headings in the file are loaded and listed here. This reminds anyone viewing the page what the outline or table of contents for the worksheet is. In this example, there are 5 section headings. Second, the add-in has searched all student folders, both individual submissions folders and team folders, to find any other files of the same name. Those are the copies that the instructor has distributed to students for them to work on during class. Any files that it finds are listed here. The same 5 section headings are used as column headings for the main table on the page. In the top row, we see checkboxes in each column. If I wish to see the content of any section, I simply click the checkbox. The content of that section then appears at the end of the page, and I can scroll down to view it. One can choose any number of sections to view, together or none. In the remaining rows of the table, we see only a few checkboxes. A checkbox is shown if and only if the student's HTML file differs from the instructor's original in that section. Thus, the checkboxes form a horizontal progress meter. As students complete new sections of the worksheet and knit their R Markdown files, their HTML files on disk are updated, and the add-in notices it. This view is updated at least once every 5 seconds. Let's see that in action. We'll switch to a student's point of view. Assume this student is working in class and they write some code and reknit the file. Then, on the projector, we see that a new checkbox has appeared, indicating the student has started working on a section they hadn't touched before. If one student is far ahead, the instructor may suggest that the student take a break from his or her own work and help out a student who is farther behind. If everyone gets stuck at one particular section, the instructor may choose to initiate a discussion on what's causing the hang-up. Of course, these checkboxes can be clicked as well to import the student's work onto this page on the projector. If a student wants to share their work with the class, for example when answering a question from the instructor can bring it up in an instant and let the student discuss or explain it. Alternately, if different students come up with different ways to solve a problem, the instructor can check both boxes and bring up the answers next to one another for discussion and comparison. Naturally, the instructor doesn't need to show this on the projector at all times, or even at all. If the instructor just wishes to have for their own information a progress bar of how far along students are in the worksheet, or if they wish to browse student work without making it publicly visible, simply place the projector in standby mode and browse student work live by inspecting one or more sections at your leisure. That is an overview of the live monitoring features of the add-in.